There is surely no country on the planet more mysterious than the one we are about to discover. The smallest nation in the world, and at the same time one of the most extraordinary and hermetically inaccessible places on Earth. A secret enclave that shelters hidden realities, which only a lucky few can know. In this new video from Uncensored World, we will delve into the Vatican, the heart of the Catholic Church, a territory with an enigmatic past and a present surrounded by myths and secrets that you are about to discover. Many of us are unaware of the curiosities and controversial facts hidden behind the imposing walls that surround this tiny country. Walls that protect hidden mysteries, such as secret archives, supposed time machines, hidden passageways that allowed popes to escape from danger, and even rumors about links with the mafia and secret societies such as the Illuminati. But it will probably grab your attention even more to learn that there is a school for exorcists in the Vatican, or that under its great basilica, dark underground passageways lead to the crypt containing the remains of the Apostle St. Peter. The Vatican is also one of the richest countries in the world, with its own bank, hospital, pharmacy, and army, whose guards wear a striped uniform designed by Michelangelo over 500 years ago. A country in which, according to an ancient legend, a woman managed to infiltrate the Vatican and become pope, which led to the creation of the figure of the Testicle Tester, a man in charge of manually checking the attributes of future popes to prevent such an event from happening again. A story that could partly explain why this is the country with the lowest proportion of female population in the world, where residents must be exclusively male and celibate. The epicenter of Christian religious life, in which the Pope, its central figure, receives no salary and pays no taxes, has no personal property or car, but on the contrary, has a secret library and has the earthly power to exorcise and forgive anyone of their worst sins. A pope elected in a process shrouded in absolute secrecy, known as the conclave, a term that literally means locked by key, due to an obscure and mysterious tradition that we will soon discover. Pay attention and don't miss this video, because we assure you that discovering the Vatican with an uncensored world will surprise you. Let's get started. For many, this is the spiritual epicenter of the world, the place that the Holy Mother Church chose to chart the destiny of humanity and to erect the most majestic cathedral of Christianity. A choice deeply linked to discovery, as the remains of the Apostle St. Peter were discovered on this very ground, hidden in a set of tunnels and catacombs arranged just under the main altar of St. Peter's Basilica. It was the Italian archaeologist Margherita Guarducci, an expert in Greek epigraphy, who, after exhaustive research and study of various inscriptions and traditions related to the tomb of St. Peter, discovered a funerary structure located about 3 meters below the main altar of St. Peter's Basilica. In this structure, various remains were found, and a graffito known as Peter's graffito, which includes the inscription Petrus Eini, interpreted as Peter is here. As the scriptures proclaimed in the phrase, "You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church." Thus, St. Peter's Basilica and the Vatican were built, the smallest country in the world, but at the same time one of the richest and most powerful centers of the Catholic faith. If this discovery has piqued your curiosity and you would like to explore the Vatican necropolis and the tomb of St. Peter, it is worth knowing that it is possible to book a visit through the official Vatican website. If you are interested, do it in advance, as access is limited to preserve the archaeological site. From the website, you can book this experience that will allow you to delve into galleries full of history and discover firsthand the places that gave rise to these legends, past and present, some of which have become reality, like many that you will now learn about. Located in the heart of Rome, the Vatican covers an area of approximately 44 hectares, which is equivalent to about 0.044 square kilometers. To put it in perspective, it would be approximately the size of 80 soccer fields. Despite its tiny size, its population density is remarkable. In this tiny nation, the majority of its inhabitants are unmarried men, mainly priests and members of the clergy, but there are also lay employees, some families, and a very small number of women, who represent a minority in the country with fewer women than any other on the planet. According to the most recent records, the Vatican City has a total population of approximately 882 people. Of these, around 636 reside permanently in Vatican territory. and among all of these it is estimated that there are less than 20 women. The majority of residents in the country are religious, employees, and also Swiss Guards, which is the name given to the Vatican Army. The Pontifical Swiss Guard is responsible for the security of the Pope and the Vatican City State, and has its roots in the 16th century. One of the most fascinating aspects of this historic institution is that, since its creation, the design of its uniform has remained virtually unchanged. This iconic and eye-catching striped uniform was designed in 1508 by the legendary Michelangelo, one of humanity's most influential artists. With his unmistakable style, Michelangelo created not just an item of clothing, but a symbol of the tradition, loyalty, and protection that the Swiss Guard offers the Pope to this day. Its name comes from the Swiss soldiers, renowned in Renaissance Europe for their skill and loyalty on the battlefield. In 1506, Pope Julius II requested the formation of a company of 150 Swiss mercenaries for his personal protection, thus establishing the Swiss Guard. Before the creation of the Swiss Guard, the popes had various military units for their defense, but the reputation of these Swiss mercenaries led to their incorporation as an official Vatican force. One of the most notable episodes in their history occurred during the sack of Rome in 1527, when the Swiss Guard valiantly defended Pope Clement VII against the troops of Emperor Charles V, allowing him to escape through the Passetto di Borgo. This Passetto is one of the most emblematic and enigmatic places in Rome, a mysterious elevated passageway that connects the imposing Castel Sant'Angelo with the papal residence. This secret corridor with centuries of history was designed as an escape route for the Pope in times of danger, allowing him to flee quickly if cornered. Although today it is only rarely open to the public, it can be partially seen from certain points in the city. Access is very restricted and only a privileged few are allowed to pass through it. The Passetto not only connects the castle with the Vatican, but also with the papal apartments, giving it an air of mystery and a history full of secrets. Something that not everyone knows is that, historically, the power of the popes extended beyond religious functions. The popes ruled what were known as the Papal States, territories in the Italian peninsula that included regions such as Lazio, Umbria, and part of Emilia-Romagna. To maintain their authority, the popes had their own armies, known as the Papal Armed Forces, which included units such as the Noble Guard and the Palatine Guard. These forces participated in alliances and conflicts, also consolidating the political and territorial power of the Church. For centuries, the popes acted as absolute monarchs in their domains, involving themselves in political intrigues, wars, and strategic alliances. Their influence extended throughout Europe, and their power was not limited to the spiritual realm. However, with the emergence of nation-states and unification movements in the 19th century, the temporal power of the popes diminished. The process of Italian unification led to the annexation of the Papal States to the Kingdom of Italy in 1870, limiting papal authority to the small space of the Vatican. This situation culminated in the Lateran Pacts of 1929, which established Vatican City as an independent state and recognized papal sovereignty over this reduced territory. We could say that in this way the power of the papacy and the Vatican was considerably reduced to the religious sphere, something that was not always the case, as the past of some popes is as dark as it is extraordinary. One of the popes with the darkest footprint in history is Clement VI, who occupied the papacy during the devastating Black Death. Instead of leading by example, he lived surrounded by luxury and opulence while the population suffered from the plague. During his pontificate, he was also involved in the sale of indulgences, a controversial practice that allowed the faithful to buy absolution for their sins in exchange for money. This practice granted the forgiveness of sins committed, and it was even believed that it could reduce the time that souls spent in purgatory. The idea that salvation could be acquired in this way sparked the indignation of many, and years later, it would be one of the main triggers of the Protestant Reformation. Another of the darkest papacies was that of Alexander VI, born Rodrigo Borgia in Zativa, Valencia, into a family of noble origin but with aspirations of power beyond their status. Throughout his life, Pope Alexander VI demonstrated an uncommon political astuteness, which allowed him to rise quickly through the ecclesiastical ranks. His pontificate, which began in 1492, was marked by constant political manipulation and corruption. One of the most controversial aspects of Alexander VI's papacy was that he had several children, something which, although common at the time among senior members of the Church, was scandalous due to his position as pope. In addition to this, his nepotism was evident, as he placed his relatives in positions of power within the Church, always favoring his family in ecclesiastical and territorial politics. During his papacy, the Papal States underwent significant territorial expansion, conquering and consolidating control over much of what is now Italy. Returning to the history and reality of the Vatican, the name Vatican comes from Mons Vaticanus, the hill on which it sits, located on the right bank of the Tiber River in Rome. This small but powerful enclave has been, throughout the centuries, the spiritual and political center of the Catholic Church. Vatican City, as we know it today, was established in 1929 through the Lateran Pacts, which resolved the Roman question between the Holy See and the Kingdom of Italy, formalizing its independence from the Italian state. This resolution marked the end of a long dispute over the control of the papal territories, which had begun with the unification of Italy and the desire of the popes to maintain their temporal dominion. Over the centuries, the papal seat has undergone significant changes. Before the consolidation of their residence in the Vatican, the popes resided in other Roman basilicas, the most important being the Basilica of St. John Lateran, the Cathedral of Rome, which was the papal residence until Innocent III decided to move to a safer one, the Apostolic Palace in the Vatican, in the 13th century. This move marked the beginning of the Vatican as the main seat of the papacy, although it would not be until 1929 that the Vatican City acquired its independence and current status as a sovereign state. Returning to the papacy, surely there is no more amazing a reality than that of Pope Joan, a figure shrouded in mystery and legend that has endured throughout the centuries. The story of Joan tells how a woman disguised as a man managed to infiltrate the papacy and rule the church for a brief period in the 9th century. According to legend, Joan, adopting the name John VIII, ascended the papal throne and ruled for approximately 2 years, until during a procession from St. Peter's Basilica to St. John Lateran, she gave birth to a child, revealing her true identity and unmasking her deception. This moment of revelation was so shocking that, according to the stories, the church took measures to prevent such a fraud from happening again. This legend was widely documented in medieval works, with engravings, paintings, and even books attesting to its existence, although some historians suggest that it could be more of a popular invention than a historical fact. Be that as it may, Joan's story gave rise to the creation of an alleged ritual in the papal election, the purpose of which was to verify the virility of the chosen one. To this end, an ecclesiastical position was created known as the Testicle Tester, or testiculus habet. In Latin, he has two and they hang well, a phrase that was supposedly pronounced after the male attributes of the elected pope had been verified. It is rumored that this process involved the candidate sitting on a special chair, known as the sedia stercoraria, a chair with a hole in the seat through which it could be verified whether the chosen one really did possess the genitals of a man. In some versions of the myth, the tester was a deacon, or in more dramatic ones, a young cardinal. The ceremony would have included the manual examination of the genitals of the elected pope, after which the famous phrase, "Duos habet et bene pendentes," would have been proclaimed. Once this had been said, the attendees would respond, "Deo gratias," thanks be to God, indicating that the chosen one fulfilled the requirements of virility to perform his function. This ritual, apparently created in response to the farce of Pope Joan, was an extreme measure to prevent a similar deception from happening again. In addition to the enigmatic figure of Pope Joan and the myth of the palpatus, the Vatican is home to a tradition that has endured for centuries. The conclave, a process which, as its name suggests, means locked with a key. This secret ceremony, which envelops the cardinals in an atmosphere of total isolation, has a historical root as fascinating as it is surprising. The reason why the cardinals are confined during the papal election process has its origins in an event that took place in the Italian city of Viterbo in the 13th century. The lack of agreement among the cardinals to elect a successor led to a delay that lasted for more than 2 years. The situation was untenable because, as you now know, the Papal States managed many issues besides religion. But the indifference, the privileges, and the constant pursuit of power by the cardinals generated a crisis that almost destroyed the credibility of the Church and the papacy at that time. It was in this context, in the Italian city of Viterbo, that Cardinal Gregory X, who would later be elected Pope, decided to implement an extreme measure to end the impasse. In an act of desperation to ensure a quick election without further delay, he ordered that the cardinals be literally locked up, without access to food, to force them to make a decision. The cardinals were isolated in a convent and left with a minimal food ration, a radical act to ensure that their only priority was the election of a new pope. This extreme measure brought about the papal election in record time and marked the beginning of the practice of the conclave as we know it today. In this way, the locking up came to symbolize the urgency of the papal election and the commitment of the cardinals to the Church. Another curiosity that few people know is that the conclave is so secret that, during the election, the cardinals cannot receive communication from the outside or be influenced by external factors. This isolation culminates in the famous ritual of smoke coming out of the Sistine Chapel's chimney. When the cardinals have reached an agreement and elected the new pope, white smoke appears, announcing to the world that the election is complete. If a consensus has not been reached, paperwork is burned and the smoke that comes out is black, indicating that the voting is still ongoing. This smoke system, used since the 16th century, has witnessed many conclaves, generating one of the greatest expectations worldwide, as it is the unequivocal sign that the future leader of the Church is about to be revealed. As you can see, this papal election process, with its immense symbolism and mystery, is still a tradition that honors not only the past, but also the need for privacy, reflection, and above all, urgency in the election of the person who will guide the Catholic Church in its global mission. But these are just some of the most striking and unknown mysteries in the history of the Vatican, perhaps not even the most surprising. Among the many enigmas in the Vatican Secret Archive is one of those places that many have heard of, but to which only a few have access. Located in the Apostolic Palace in Vatican City, this archive houses more than 1,000 years of history on its shelves, which extend for more than 80 kilometers. With an impressive number of documents, some of them priceless, the archive holds records of fundamental trials such as those of the Knights Templar, the trial of Galileo Galilei, and the papal bull that excommunicated Martin Luther. The archive is currently known as the Vatican Apostolic Archive, but the term secret does not refer to the existence of prohibited content, but to its private nature, since the documents are the direct property of the Pope, sovereign of the Vatican. These archives were closed to the public until the end of the 19th century, and today only a select group of researchers have access to them. Among the most intriguing theories about the contents of these archives is the belief that the Vatican possesses information about the end of the world, related to the secrets of Fatima, which were revealed in the 20th century. Another of the most fascinating and perplexing mysteries related to the Vatican archives is the chronoviewer, a supposed time machine that, according to some accounts, was built in the Vatican during the 1940s. It is said that this technology allowed images of past events to be captured, including momentous historical moments such as the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Although the existence of this machine has never been confirmed, the legend of how it worked lives on in the corridors of the Vatican, generating even more speculation and curiosity among those who believe that the Vatican has been able to manipulate the timeline. All these realities can be known in greater depth if you are lucky or privileged enough to have access to these secret archives, a mystery within the walls of the smallest country in the world, where there are also documents related to exorcisms that even today in the 21st century are still carried out in places like this. The Vatican keeps a rather dark tradition alive: exorcism. It does so in such a way that there is an official school of exorcists within the Vatican, responsible for training the priests who carry out these types of rituals. This institution, under the direct supervision of the Catholic Church, teaches a rigorous approach that combines theology, liturgical practices, and medical knowledge. Exorcists in training learn to recognize the signs of possible demonic possession and, at the same time, receive training to collaborate with mental health experts. In this way, the aim is to differentiate cases of genuine possession from psychological disorders such as schizophrenia, a fundamental distinction to ensure that the rituals are not mistakenly applied to people who simply require medical attention. This course, which is taught privately, is reserved for a select group of priests who, upon completion of the training, become official Vatican exorcists. The practice of exorcism is still in force in various parts of the world, and the Vatican exorcists, numbering more than 250, have performed thousands of these rituals. Although most exorcisms take place in churches and chapels within Vatican City, they are also performed in other locations under its supervision. This subject, which could seem to be taken from a horror movie, is a reality within the Church, and continues to be one of the most enigmatic and controversial traditions of the institution. At this point, we would like to ask you, what do you think about exorcisms? Do you know anyone who you think should be exorcised? What has impressed you the most about the Vatican so far? Pause the video and leave us your comment. You know that doing so is the best way for you to support Uncensored World so that we can continue working every week to discover places as incredible as this one. So thank you. The Vatican's past has been marked by several scandals that have tarnished its image, including relations with the mafia and even secret societies such as the Illuminati. One of the most famous episodes was the connection with the Ambrosian Mafia, a network of criminals and bankers who were involved in illegal activities during the 1970s. The Italian-based Banco Ambrosiano had links with the Holy See through the Institute for the Works of Religion, known as the IOR, or more popularly as the Vatican Bank. When the financial fraud was uncovered in 1982 with billions of dollars missing, several members of the Vatican were implicated, including Pope John Paul I, who died in mysterious circumstances shortly after assuming the papacy. Conspiracy theories link this scandal to the mafia and other secret groups, which only fueled rumors about the influence of the Illuminati within the Vatican. In addition to the mafia links, accusations about the Illuminati, an alleged occult power group influencing world events, have also tainted the Vatican. Although evidence of these connections has never been confirmed, speculation about the Church's role in global conspiracies is still very much alive, particularly in relation to the control of information and the secrets kept by the Vatican in its archives. Today, life within the Vatican remains an enigma for many, surrounded by little-known but real aspects. For example, only about 800 people live permanently in this small state, most of whom are priests, officials, and Vatican employees. Furthermore, life within the Vatican is almost exclusively male and celibate, which means that there are almost no families living there, with a few exceptions, such as the Swiss guards or very exclusive employees. One of the most surprising curiosities is that the Pope does not receive a salary. His expenses are covered by the Holy See, but he is not formally paid as an employee. In addition, the priests who officiate at Masses in the Vatican do not earn money for doing so, although they may receive small donations from parishioners. The Vatican's finances are a complex and mysterious subject. Although its income comes from various sources such as museums, donations, and investments, financial transparency has been the subject of controversy, especially after the Vatican Bank scandals. In addition to its material wealth, the Vatican owns large properties in various cities around the world, reinforcing its power and global reach. One unique aspect is its security system, which is one of the strictest in the world. The Swiss Guard, famous for its colorful uniforms, is responsible for the Pope's safety, while the camera and access control system regulates who can enter and leave. The most important figure in the smallest country in the world is the Pope, and although you might think that almost anything is permitted, this is not the case, as his life is surrounded by a series of restrictions and rules that define his role within the Vatican. Although he has access to enormous material wealth, properties all over the world, and unparalleled security, the Pope does not receive a salary as such, and his expenses are covered by the Holy See. He lives in the luxurious apostolic palace, but he cannot have a family nor enjoy personal wealth since his life is dedicated to the Church and to celibacy, and everything he owns belongs to the Vatican, not to him. Furthermore, the Pope does not have absolute control over the Vatican's finances, as the financial assets are managed by the Holy See. Although he has the possibility to travel and enjoy certain privileges, he cannot live outside the Vatican permanently. His life is deeply marked by religious and administrative commitment, and although he enjoys a comfortable residence, his role demands personal sacrifices, such as renouncing a family life and complete dedication to his spiritual mission. Surely at this point you are interested in knowing if it is possible to access the Vatican and how to achieve it. That is why Uncensored World has thoroughly investigated this reality, and now we are going to tell you about it. The easiest way to access the Vatican is by visiting places like the imposing St. Peter's Basilica or the Vatican museums. These are the best known and most visited sites by tourists from all over the world. Entrance to the Basilica is free, but if you want to access the dome, you will have to pay a small fee. For the Vatican museums, which house one of the most valuable art collections in the world, admission also has a cost, and it is recommended to buy tickets in advance to avoid long queues, especially during the high season. In addition to the works of art, visitors can explore the Sistine Chapel, famous for Michelangelo's frescoes, among other historical places within the museums. If you are interested in accessing more exclusive places, such as the Vatican catacombs or St. Peter's tomb, it is possible to do so by booking a special visit through the official Vatican website. These guided tours are usually more limited and are conducted in small groups, allowing for a more intimate and in-depth experience of the sacred spaces. St. Peter's tomb, located under St. Peter's Basilica, is believed to hold the remains of the Apostle, a place of great religious significance. In addition to these options, there are more exclusive visits that offer access to restricted areas of the Vatican, such as the Apostolic Library, the Secret Archives, or the Secret Papal Stables, where historical documents of incalculable value are kept. However, these accesses are extremely limited and are only available to select groups, researchers, and on rare occasions, tourists with a well-justified prior request. It is also possible to access the Vatican during special events such as the Christmas Mass or the papal audiences, in which more restricted and memorable access is offered. The Vatican is also known for its gardens, which can also be visited by appointment, providing the opportunity to enjoy a peaceful and less touristy environment within Vatican City. From Uncensored World, we hope that this tour of the Vatican has been as fascinating for you as it has been for us. With that in mind, and the effort that making these videos requires, if you have enjoyed this video and are not yet a subscriber, don't wait any longer and do it now by activating the little bell so as not to miss the fascinating videos that we make every week. Videos like this one that you can enjoy now to discover another of the most fascinating corners of the planet. Don't miss out and discover the wonders that this place has to offer.